You're fired! We don't want you here anymore." The rich woman's voice echoed through the mansion, the latest nanny fleeing in tears as the triplets cheered gleefully. For months, no one could handle those millionaire terrors who kicked and screamed, driving away a parade of exasperated caregivers. But when a humble waitress was hired for a single event, the parents were stunned to see their rebellious daughters run to hug her, their faces lit up with pure joy. What they didn't know was that the waitress held a secret to unlock the girls' hearts, a truth no one else had bothered to discover. "My car keys are in the fish tank! The fish tank! This is the last straw!" Mrs. Henderson screamed, her face red with anger as she stormed through the grand entrance hall of the Smith mansion. She held up her dripping wet keys, water pooling on the marble floor beneath them. Victoria Smith rushed down the curved staircase, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the early morning hour. "Mrs. Henderson, please. The girls were just playing." "Playing? This isn't playing. This is torture. 3 months I've lasted. 3 months of spiders in my shoes, honey in my hairbrush, and now this." Mrs. Henderson shook her head firmly. "I quit. Now." From behind a large potted plant, 3 identical blonde heads peeked out, blue eyes wide with mischief. 8-year-old triplets, Emma, Sophia, and Olivia Smith, watched their 12th nanny in 6 months storm out of their home. "Girls!" Victoria called, her voice sharp with frustration. "Come here right now!" The triplets emerged slowly, walking in perfect unison. They wore matching blue dresses, their long blonde hair tied back with ribbons. "Did you put Mrs. Henderson's keys in the aquarium?" Victoria asked, crossing her arms. Emma, the unofficial leader of the 3, stepped forward. "She said she couldn't find her keys anywhere." "We were helping her look in places she hadn't checked yet." Sophia nodded earnestly. The fish seemed happy to have visitors. Olivia, the quietest of the 3, simply stared at her mother with innocent eyes. Victoria sighed deeply. "Go to your room. Your father will hear about this when he gets home." As the girls climbed the stairs, Victoria could hear them giggling. She pressed her fingers against her temples, feeling the beginning of another headache. In his home office, Thomas Smith was on his 5th business call of the morning. At 45 years old, he had built Smith Luxury Hotels into one of the most successful chains in America. He barely looked up when Victoria entered. "Not now, honey." "I'm finalizing the San Francisco deal," he said, covering the phone's microphone. "Mrs. Henderson quit," Victoria said flatly. "The girls put her car keys in the aquarium." Thomas paused, then spoke into the phone. "Phil, let me call you back in 5 minutes." He hung up and looked at his wife. "That's 12 nannies now?" "In 6 months," Victoria confirmed, sinking into a leather chair. "I don't know what to do anymore." "We've tried everything. Discipline, rewards, therapy. We need someone special," Thomas said, leaning back in his chair. "Someone who won't run at the first sign of trouble." Victoria stood suddenly. "I have an idea. The charity gala we're hosting next week, there will be hundreds of people here, teachers, child psychologists, maybe even potential nannies. We could network, ask around." Thomas nodded, already reaching for his phone again. "Good plan. Now, I really need to finish this call." Victoria left the office, her mind racing. She needed to find someone who could handle the triplets before she completely lost her mind. 20 miles away in East Los Angeles, Melissa Taylor balanced 3 plates of pancakes as she hurried between tables at the Bluebird Diner. At 28, she moved with the efficiency of someone who had been waiting tables for years. "Here you go, Mr. Parsons. Blueberry pancakes with extra syrup," she said, setting a plate in front of an elderly regular customer. "Thank you, sweetheart," he replied. "How's your grandfather doing?" Melissa's smile faltered slightly. "Some good days, some bad. The doctor increased his medication last week." She moved to the next table, delivering the remaining orders before returning to the counter where her co-worker Jenny was pouring coffee. "You look tired," Jenny commented. "Grandpa had a rough night," Melissa explained. "He got confused and thought he needed to go to work. I found him at 3 in the morning trying to put on his old mail carrier uniform." Jenny shook her head sympathetically. "That Alzheimer's is a terrible thing. Hey, speaking of extra work, my cousin's catering company needs extra servers for a fancy gala in Beverly Hills next Saturday. It pays $200 for one night. Interested?" Melissa's eyes widened. $200? For one night? Absolutely. I'll text you the details, Jenny promised. Melissa spent the rest of her shift calculating what that extra money could mean. Maybe she could finally replace the broken oven in their apartment. Her dream of opening a bakery seemed impossibly distant these days, despite her culinary school degree gathering dust for the past 5 years. When her shift ended at 4 o'clock, Melissa drove her old Honda to the small apartment she shared with her grandfather. She found Frank Taylor sitting in his armchair staring at a baseball game on television. "Hi, Grandpa," she said, kissing his cheek. "Did you take your medicine today?" Frank looked up at her with momentary confusion, then smiled in recognition. "Melissa!" "Yes, I took the little blue pill and the white one." "Good job," she praised him, though she'd check the pill box later to make sure. "Are you hungry?" "I brought leftover pie from the diner." They ate dinner together while Frank told stories about his mail route from 30 years ago, sometimes mixing up details or repeating himself. Melissa listened patiently, her mind drifting to the upcoming catering job and the badly needed extra income. The following Saturday evening, Melissa arrived at the Smith Mansion on Rodeo Drive, her eyes wide at the sheer size of the property. She wore the black pants and white shirt required for catering staff, her curly hair pulled back into a neat bun. The mansion buzzed with activity as staff prepared for the gala. In the massive kitchen, chefs and servers rushed about arranging elaborate appetizers and champagne flutes. "You must be Melissa," said the catering manager, handing her a tray. "These dessert platters need to go to the table by the west windows, then come back for the chocolate-dipped strawberries." Melissa nodded, carefully lifting the heavy tray of pastries. As she navigated through the kitchen toward the main hall, she heard whispers among the staff. "Watch out for the little devils," an older server warned her. "The Smith triplets are monsters. They put hot sauce in the punch bowl at the last event." "I heard they cut the power during their mother's birthday party," another added. Melissa smiled politely but said nothing as she carried her tray toward the designated table. The ballroom was stunning, with crystal chandeliers and flower arrangements on every surface. Wealthy guests in formal attire were beginning to arrive. As she arranged the desserts on the display table, Melissa felt someone watching her. She turned to find 3 identical little girls in matching pink dresses staring at her intently. "Hello," Melissa said kindly. "You must be Emma, Sophia, and Olivia." "I'm Melissa." The triplets exchanged glances, their eyes widening. One of them stepped forward. "I'm Emma," she said. "How did you know our names?" "The staff mentioned there were triplets in the house," Melissa explained. "Would you like a chocolate strawberry? They look delicious." To her surprise, instead of causing mischief, the girls approached with unusual politeness. "Yes, please," Sophia said, accepting a strawberry carefully. As they stood there, Sophia accidentally bumped a glass of punch, spilling it on her dress. Melissa braced herself for tears or tantrums, but instead, Sophia looked up with an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't mean to make a mess." "That's okay," Melissa replied, reaching for a napkin. "Accidents happen." From the doorway, Victoria Smith watched in disbelief. She had come to check on the girls, expecting to find them terrorizing the staff. Instead, they were behaving perfectly while talking to a caterer. After the triplets walked away, Victoria approached Melissa. "Excuse me, I'm Victoria Smith." "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Smith. I'm Melissa Taylor, just helping with catering tonight." Victoria studied her face. My daughters seem to respond well to you. That's unusual. They seem like lovely girls, Melissa replied diplomatically. Victoria glanced toward her daughters, then back at Melissa. Our nanny quit recently. We're looking for someone new. Would you be interested in the position? The salary is $3,000 per week, with room and board included if needed. Melissa nearly dropped the tray she was holding. $3,000 per week? I don't have experience as a nanny. You have experience with my daughters behaving, which makes you more qualified than most, Victoria said firmly. Think about it. We can discuss details after the gala. As Victoria walked away, Melissa stood frozen in place. $3,000 weekly would solve all her financial problems, pay for better care for her grandfather, and maybe even let her save toward her bakery dream. But why had the notorious, terrible triplets behaved so well with her? As she returned to the kitchen, she couldn't shake the feeling that the girls' reaction wasn't just good behavior. The way they had stared at her face, almost in recognition, felt strange, almost as if they'd seen a ghost. Melissa couldn't stop thinking about the strange way the triplets had looked at her as she drove home from the Smith mansion. The job offer played in her mind all night. $3,000 per week would change everything for her and her grandfather. The next morning, Melissa parked her old Honda in front of the huge Smith house on Rodeo Drive. She checked her appearance one last time in the mirror. Her curly hair was pulled back neatly and she wore simple black pants and a blue blouse, professional but comfortable for working with children. You can do this, she whispered to herself before walking to the front door. Victoria Smith opened the door before Melissa could knock. She wore a tennis outfit and held a phone to her ear. Yes, she's here now, Victoria said to the person on the phone. I'll call you later. She hung up and looked at Melissa. Good. You're on time. Come in. Melissa stepped into the grand entrance hall with its shiny marble floor and huge crystal chandelier. The girls wake up at 7 o'clock every morning, Victoria said, walking quickly through the house. Breakfast at 7:30, school prep at 8. The driver takes them to Westwood Academy at 8:30. They return at 3:15. Homework until 5. Dinner at 6. Bath at 7:30. Bed by 8:30. Melissa struggled to keep up with Victoria's fast pace and faster words. The girls must follow this schedule exactly, Victoria continued. Discipline is our top priority. The triplets need firm boundaries. They walked into a large kitchen where an older woman arranged flowers in a vase. She had gray hair pulled into a tight bun and wore a black dress with a white apron. This is Mrs. Patterson, our housekeeper, Victoria said. She's been with us since the girls were born. Mrs. Patterson barely looked at Melissa. Another one, she muttered. We'll see how long you last. Before Melissa could respond, a man in his early 30s entered the kitchen. He wore an expensive suit and carried a tablet. Ah, Derek, Victoria said. This is Melissa Taylor, our new nanny. Derek Wilson is our personal assistant. He manages our schedules and household matters. Derek smiled, but his eyes studied Melissa carefully. Interesting background you have, Miss Taylor. Foster care system, culinary school, caring for your grandfather. How did you end up in childcare? Melissa shifted uncomfortably. I just met the girls last night at the gala. I don't actually have professional nanny experience. Yes, Victoria mentioned that. Derek said, still smiling. Where did you grow up exactly? Derek, save the interrogation, Victoria interrupted. Melissa, let's continue the tour. As they walked upstairs, a tall man in a business suit came down the hall talking on his phone. The Tokyo investors need the presentation by tomorrow morning, he was saying. He nodded briefly at Melissa without stopping his conversation. That's my husband Thomas, Victoria explained. He's very busy with hotel expansions in Asia right now. Victoria opened a door to reveal a large playroom filled with toys, books, and 3 identical desks. Girls, Victoria called. Your new nanny is here. Emma, Sophia, and Olivia sat at their desks coloring. They looked up in perfect unison. Hello, Melissa, they said together. I'll leave you to get acquainted, Victoria said. Remember what I said about discipline." After Victoria left, Melissa smiled at the girls. "It's nice to meet you properly." "What are you coloring?" "Pictures of butterflies," Sophia said, holding up her drawing. "Do you like butterflies, Melissa?" "I do," Melissa answered, surprised by their good behavior after all the stories she'd heard. "Would you like to see our books?" Emma asked, leading Melissa to a large bookshelf. "Or our dollhouse," Olivia added quietly. For the next hour, the triplets showed Melissa their toys and books with unusual enthusiasm. They asked questions about where she lived and if she had children of her own. When Melissa turned to check the time, she noticed her phone was missing from her pocket. She glanced around and caught Emma quickly looking away. "That's strange," Melissa said calmly. "I can't find my phone. I thought it was in my pocket." "Maybe you left it downstairs?" Sophia suggested, her eyes too innocent. Melissa nodded. "Maybe. Or maybe it grew legs and walked into someone's desk drawer." Emma's eyes widened. She slowly opened her desk drawer and pulled out Melissa's phone. "It was just a test," Emma said, watching Melissa carefully. "Mrs. Henderson would have yelled at us." "I'm not Mrs. Henderson," Melissa said, taking her phone. "Next time, just ask if you want to see my phone." The triplets exchanged surprised looks. At lunch, Olivia refused to eat her carrots, pushing them around her plate. "Carrots are yucky," she declared. "You don't like carrots?" Melissa asked. "What vegetables do you like?" "None," Olivia stated firmly. "Well, your body needs vegetables to be strong," Melissa said. "How about we count how many you can eat? 1 carrot for each year you've been alive. That's 8 carrots. "That's too many," Olivia protested. "Okay, how about 4? Half your age." Olivia considered this, then slowly ate 4 carrot pieces while Melissa counted with her. Later that afternoon, Melissa helped the girls with their homework. She showed unexpected patience with their questions, explaining math problems clearly when they struggled. At bath time, Melissa laid out 3 sets of pajamas while the girls splashed in the large bathroom. "She looks just like Carmen," Melissa heard Sophia whisper. "Shh," Mom said. "We can't talk about Carmen," Emma whispered back. "Who is Carmen?" Melissa asked casually. The bathroom went silent. All 3 girls stared at her with wide eyes. "Nobody," Emma said quickly. "Time to get out," Melissa said, deciding not to push. She helped them dry off and get into their pajamas. After tucking the triplets into their beds, Melissa stepped into the hallway to call her grandfather. "Hi, Grandpa. It's me, Melissa," she said when he answered. "Melissa?" Frank sounded confused. "Are you coming home soon?" "I need help with the thing. I'm at my new job, Grandpa. Remember I told you about the nanny position? Mrs. Johnson is there to help you tonight." "Who's Mrs. Johnson?" Frank asked, his voice becoming agitated. "Your caretaker, Grandpa," Melissa said, worry growing in her stomach. "She comes every Tuesday and Thursday, remember?" "I don't know any Mrs. Johnson," Frank insisted. "Are you coming home now?" Melissa spent 10 minutes calming her grandfather before Mrs. Johnson took the phone and assured her everything was fine. After hanging up, Melissa leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of her responsibilities. As she walked downstairs, she heard raised voices from Thomas's office. She slowed her steps, not meaning to eavesdrop but unable to avoid hearing. "Hiring a waitress with no childcare experience was reckless, Victoria," Thomas was saying. "You didn't see how the girls responded to her," Victoria replied. "They were actually behaving." "When was the last time that happened?" "There's something strange about it," Thomas said. "The triplets don't just suddenly behave for no reason." "Well, they listened to her," Victoria insisted. "That's all that matters." Melissa continued down the hallway quickly, not wanting to be caught listening. That evening as she drove home, Melissa couldn't stop thinking about the day. The triplets were nothing like the terrors everyone described. Yes, they tested her with small pranks, but they were also sweet, intelligent girls. But something felt off, the way they sometimes stared at her. And that whispered name, Carmen. As she parked outside her apartment building, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Be careful with those girls. They'll make you love them before breaking your heart. Just ask Carmen." Melissa stared at the message, a chill running through her body. Who was Carmen? And who had sent this warning? Melissa stared at the strange text message all night. Who knew about her new job? And who was Carmen? She tried calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail with no personal greeting. 2 weeks passed since that unsettling message, and Melissa settled into a routine at the Smith mansion. The triplets still tested her occasionally, but their behavior improved daily. No more keys in fish tanks or spiders in shoes. One sunny afternoon, Melissa was helping Emma organize her bookshelf while Sophia and Olivia played with dolls nearby. "You have so many wonderful books," Melissa said, stacking colorful volumes on the shelf. "Mom buys us books every time she goes on a business trip," Emma explained, "even if she doesn't read them to us much." As Melissa moved a heavy science encyclopedia, her foot pressed on a floorboard that made a different sound than the others. She looked down and noticed the board seemed slightly raised at one edge. "That board looks loose," she commented, pointing to the floor. Emma suddenly dropped the book she was holding and stepped in front of the spot. "No, it's not. It's fine." Sophia and Olivia both looked up quickly. "Let's organize the animal books next," Emma said loudly, grabbing a stack of books about dolphins and pushing them at Melissa. Melissa accepted the books, noticing how all three girls were now watching her nervously. Something about that floorboard was important to them. Later that day, Melissa took the triplets to their swimming lesson at the country club pool. As she watched them practice with their instructor, she couldn't stop thinking about their reaction to the loose board. "The girls are improving a lot," said the swimming teacher, a young man named Brad, as the lesson ended. "They seem happier lately." "They're wonderful children," Melissa replied, helping Olivia with her towel. "Yeah, well, they weren't so wonderful with the last 5 nannies," Brad laughed. "You must have the magic touch." After returning to the mansion, the triplets went downstairs for their piano lesson with Mrs. Abernathy. Melissa used this free hour to check on her grandfather, calling Mrs. Johnson. "He's having a difficult day," Mrs. Johnson reported. "He couldn't remember your name this morning and he tried to mail his slippers thinking they were packages." "Did he take his medication?" Melissa asked, worry building in her chest. "Yes, but the doctor thinks we might need to adjust the dosage again. He wants to see Frank next week." After the call, Melissa sat on her bed in the small but elegant guest room Victoria had assigned her. Her grandfather was getting worse and she wasn't there to help, but this job paid enough to give him proper care. She had to make it work. Her thoughts returned to the loose floorboard. Perhaps she was overthinking a simple house repair issue, but the girls' reaction suggested otherwise. When the triplets finished their piano lesson, Melissa helped them with homework and dinner. After Victoria and Thomas said goodnight to the girls, Melissa supervised their bath and bedtime routine. "Sweet dreams," she said, turning off the light in their bedroom. "I'll see you in the morning." But instead of going to her room, Melissa waited 30 minutes until she was sure the girls were asleep. Then she quietly returned to their bedroom. The night light cast a soft glow as 3 small forms breathed steadily in their beds. Melissa carefully made her way to the spot she had noticed earlier. She pressed on the edge of the board, and it lifted slightly. Using her fingers, she gently pried it up. Beneath the floorboard was a small space containing a metal box. Melissa hesitated. She was invading the children's privacy, but something told her this might help her understand the triplets better. She carefully lifted out the box and opened it. Inside, she found a worn photograph of a young Hispanic woman holding 3 infant girls. The woman had warm brown skin, dark curly hair, and a bright smile. With a jolt, Melissa realized why the triplets had stared at her so strangely. She and this woman looked remarkably similar. The box also contained 3 colorful woven friendship bracelets and several crayon drawings. Each drawing was signed by one of the triplets and addressed "For Carmen." So this was Carmen, the name in the text message and the name the girls had whispered. A small sound made Melissa look up. Olivia stood beside her bed, watching with wide eyes. "I'm sorry," Melissa whispered, feeling terrible. "I shouldn't have looked in your special box." To her surprise, Olivia didn't cry or run to get her parents. Instead, she walked over and sat beside Melissa. Soon, Emma and Sophia joined them, having been awakened by the quiet voices. "Are you mad at us?" Emma asked. "Mad at you?" "Why would I be mad?" Melissa asked gently. "For keeping secrets," Sophia explained. "Mom says good girls don't keep secrets." "I'm not mad," Melissa assured them, "but I would like to understand. Who is Carmen?" The 3 girls exchanged looks. Then Emma spoke. "Carmen was our first nanny. She took care of us when we were babies until we were 3 years old. She made us special food and sang songs in Spanish," Sophia added, "and she never yelled even when we made messes." "She loved us," Olivia said quietly. It was the most Melissa had heard her speak at once. "What happened to her?" Melissa asked. Emma's face grew sad. "She disappeared. One day she was here and the next day Mom said she was gone and never coming back. We weren't allowed to talk about her anymore," Sophia explained, "but we saved these things to remember her." "You look like her," Olivia whispered. "That's why we didn't put bugs in your shoes." Melissa looked down at the photo again. The resemblance was striking. The same curly dark hair, similar facial features, even the same smile. "Is that why you were nice to me at the gala?" "Because I look like Carmen?" The triplets nodded. "We thought maybe you were her sister or something," Emma said. "Or maybe Carmen sent you to us," Sophia added hopefully. Melissa carefully put everything back in the box. "Thank you for sharing this with me. It's important to remember people who were kind to you." "Are you going to tell Mom?" Emma asked nervously. "No," Melissa decided. "This is your special memory. But no more testing me with pranks, okay?" The girls nodded solemnly. Melissa helped them back into their beds, her mind racing with questions. Who was Carmen really? And why had she suddenly disappeared from the triplets' lives? The next morning, Melissa noticed Mrs. Patterson watching her interactions with the triplets at breakfast more closely than usual. "The girls seem very attached to you already," Mrs. Patterson commented as Melissa helped clean up. "They're wonderful children," Melissa replied. That's not what the last 12 nannies said." Mrs. Patterson narrowed her eyes. "Miss Victoria gets concerned when the girls become too attached to their caregivers." Before Melissa could respond, her phone rang. It was Mrs. Johnson again. "I'm sorry to bother you, but Frank had an episode this morning," she said. "He became very agitated and kept asking for you. The doctor is coming to evaluate him this afternoon." "Is he okay now?" Melissa asked, stepping away from Mrs. Patterson's listening ears. "He's calmer but confused. The doctor thinks his condition might be progressing faster than expected." Worry gnawed at Melissa's stomach. "I'll try to come by tonight after the girls are in bed." When she ended the call, she found Derek standing nearby. "Everything all right?" he asked. "Family emergency?" "My grandfather has Alzheimer's," Melissa explained. "He's having a difficult day." Derek nodded sympathetically. That must be hard, being away from him to work here. Later, when Victoria returned from her tennis lesson, she summoned Melissa to her office. "Mrs. Abernathy says the girls practiced piano for the full hour yesterday without complaint," Victoria said, "and their math teacher reports all 3 turned in completed homework." "What have you done to achieve this miracle?" "I just listened to them," Melissa said simply. "They're smart girls who want to please people who care about them." Victoria tapped her manicured nails on the desk. "Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. But remember, Mrs. Patterson tells me they're becoming quite attached to you." "Is that a problem?" Melissa asked carefully. "It can be," Victoria replied. "The girls need to understand that family is permanent. Staff is temporary." That evening, as Melissa helped the triplets prepare for bed, she noticed Sophia playing with something on her wrist. "What's that?" Melissa asked. Sophia hesitated, then showed her a colorful woven bracelet, identical to the ones in the secret box. "Carmen made them for us," Sophia explained. "She said as long as we wore them, she would always be with us. I keep mine hidden because Mom doesn't like seeing it." "Did Carmen teach you Spanish words?" Melissa asked, remembering what they had mentioned. "Yes," Emma said excitedly. "She taught us songs and counting and animal names." "I remember some," Olivia said softly, then counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As the girls continued sharing memories of Carmen, Melissa wondered about this woman who had clearly loved these children deeply. Why had she disappeared from their lives? And why did Victoria want to erase all memories of her? When she left the triplets' room that night, Melissa found a small folded note in her pocket. Opening it, she recognized Olivia's careful handwriting. "Carmen left because of a big secret. Mommy gets really mad if we talk about it." Melissa read Olivia's note over and over. What secret could make Victoria so angry? What had happened to Carmen? The more time she spent with the triplets, the more questions arose. A month passed since Melissa found the hidden box. Her bond with Emma, Sophia, and Olivia grew stronger each day. She introduced activities from her own childhood that made the mansion feel more like a home. One morning, Melissa set up baking supplies in the kitchen. When the triplets arrived after breakfast, their eyes widened at the sight of flour, sugar, and chocolate chips on the counter. "What are we doing?" Emma asked excitedly. "Making chocolate chip cookies," Melissa answered. "My mom taught me when I was your age." "We've never baked cookies before," Sophia said, climbing onto a stool. Melissa helped them measure ingredients and mix the dough. Flour dusted their cheeks as they giggled, taking turns stirring the big bowl. "Can I taste it?" Olivia asked quietly, pointing to the dough. "Just a tiny bit," Melissa said, letting each girl have a small taste. The kitchen filled with the smell of baking cookies. Just as the first batch came out of the oven, Victoria walked in. She stopped abruptly, staring at the messy counter and flour-covered girls. "What is going on here?" Victoria demanded. "We're baking cookies, Mom," Sophia said proudly. "This kitchen is not a playground," Victoria said coldly. "Look at this mess. And you're getting flour on your school clothes." "We'll clean everything up," Melissa promised. "The girls are learning measuring and following directions." "They could learn those things in their proper activities," Victoria replied. "This is unnecessary." Emma stepped forward. "But we're having fun, Mom. Melissa says baking is a way to show love." Victoria's expression hardened. Before she could respond, Thomas appeared in the doorway. "Something smells amazing," he said, walking in and taking a warm cookie. "Did you girls make these?" "We did it all by ourselves," Sophia announced. "With Melissa's help," Emma added honestly. Thomas took a bite and smiled. "Delicious. I can't remember the last time we had homemade cookies in this house." Victoria's phone rang, giving her an excuse to leave the room. Thomas stayed, helping himself to another cookie and asking the girls about the process. Later that week, Melissa brought out craft supplies and taught the triplets how to make homemade Play-Doh. "My elementary school in Chicago couldn't afford fancy toys," Melissa explained, mixing flour, salt, and water, "so my teacher showed us how to make our own Play-Doh." "Our school has everything," Emma said, kneading blue dough. "Some kids still aren't nice, though. They call us the terrible triplets," Sophia added. "Even when we're not terrible anymore." "People take time to notice changes," Melissa said gently. "Just keep showing them who you really are." From the doorway, Derek Wilson watched silently, taking photos with his phone. Melissa didn't notice him until he spoke. "Miss Victoria wants to know if the girls have finished their French homework," he said. "We're just taking a short break," Melissa explained. "They worked very hard on their math and science already." Derek nodded, but his eyes lingered on the scene before he walked away. That evening, Melissa received a call from her grandfather's doctor. "Frank needs to start on Memantine," the doctor explained. "It might help slow his cognitive decline. Unfortunately, his insurance doesn't cover the full cost." "How much will it be?" Melissa asked. "About $400 per month out of pocket." Melissa bit her lip. Even with her generous salary between the apartment rent, the caretaker's wages, and her grandfather's other expenses, this new medication would stretch her budget. The next morning, she approached Mrs. Patterson in the kitchen. "I need to take my grandfather to a doctor's appointment next Tuesday," Melissa said. "It should only take a few hours." Mrs. Patterson raised her eyebrows. "Tuesday is the girls' science fair. Miss Victoria expects you to accompany them." "The appointment is in the morning. I could be back by noon," Melissa explained. "Miss Victoria believes the nanny position requires complete availability," Mrs. Patterson said firmly. "The last nanny who requested too many personal days didn't last long." That afternoon, the triplets had a school fundraiser planning meeting. Melissa suggested they bake cookies to sell. "Everyone loves homemade cookies," Melissa said, "and you girls are getting really good at baking." When Victoria heard the idea, she shook her head. "Absolutely not. The Smiths will provide something special, not common baked goods. I've ordered personalized water bottles with the school logo." "But Mom," Emma protested, "we wanted to make something ourselves." "Emma," Victoria said sharply, "Smith children do not sell cookies like Girl Scouts. It's decided." That evening, while helping Olivia brush her hair before bed, Melissa noticed the little girl was quieter than usual. "Is everything okay, Olivia?" she asked softly. Olivia looked at her through the mirror. "Are you going to leave us too?" The question caught Melissa by surprise. "Why would you think that?" "Everyone leaves," Olivia whispered. "Carmen left. Then Miss Julie left." "Who was Miss Julie?" "Our nanny after Carmen. She stayed a long time, almost 6 months," Olivia explained. "She was nice. She called us her little angels. Then one day Mom had a meeting with her in the office. Miss Julie came out crying and we never saw her again." "Is that when you started playing pranks on your nannies?" Melissa asked gently. Olivia nodded. "Emma said if they're going to leave anyway, we might as well make them leave faster. That's why you put Mrs. Henderson's keys in the fish tank?" "We needed to know if you would stay," Olivia said simply. "But then we saw you look like Carmen, and we wanted you to stay." Melissa's heart broke for these girls who had learned to push people away before they could be abandoned again. That Saturday night, the Smiths hosted a dinner party for hotel investors. The triplets were allowed to make a brief appearance before bedtime. Melissa supervised them as they greeted guests in their matching blue dresses. As she helped serve drinks, Melissa overheard a conversation between 2 women near the fireplace. "The triplets look more like Thomas every year," one woman said, "though I always wondered about their birth." So mysterious how Victoria suddenly announced she was having 3 babies after years of saying she didn't want children. "I heard surrogacy was involved," the other woman whispered. "My cousin works at Cedars-Sinai and said—" Victoria appeared suddenly, cutting off the conversation. "Helen, Linda, I hope you're enjoying the canapés. The chef prepared them specially." Melissa moved to another group, where an older man did a double-take when he saw her. "My goodness," he said loudly, "you look remarkably like that first nanny they had years ago. What was her name?" "The Hispanic girl." Victoria's head turned sharply. "Richard, have you seen the new painting in the hall? Thomas just acquired it from a gallery in New York. Let me show you." Later, after the guests left and the triplets were asleep, Victoria found Melissa helping the staff clean up. "The nanny doesn't need to assist with party cleanup," Victoria said coldly. "And in the future, Please remember that staff doesn't engage in conversation with our guests. Your job is to watch the children, nothing more. I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith. I was just— That will be all, Victoria interrupted. Good night. As Melissa walked upstairs, she met Thomas coming out of his office. Ah, Melissa, he said. I wanted to thank you for the changes we've seen in the girls. It's been remarkable. They're wonderful children, Mr. Smith. Thomas glanced over his shoulder to make sure they were alone. My wife means well, but she's terrified of losing those girls, not just to another caretaker, but to the truth about where they came from. Before Melissa could ask what he meant, Thomas said goodnight and walked away, leaving her with even more questions about the secrets surrounding the triplets' birth and Carmen's sudden disappearance. Thomas's words about the truth echoed in Melissa's mind for days. What truth about the triplets was Victoria hiding, and how did it connect to Carmen? 3 months passed since Melissa's first day at the Smith mansion. The change in Emma, Sophia, and Olivia was remarkable. Their teachers sent home glowing reports about their improved behavior and academic progress. They made new friends at school. Even Mrs. Patterson grudgingly admitted the house was much calmer. One Monday morning, Emma ran into the kitchen waving a paper. "Melissa, look! I got an A on my science project." "That's wonderful," Melissa said, hugging her. "I knew you could do it." "Mom, look at my grade," Emma said as Victoria entered the kitchen. Victoria glanced at the paper. "Very good, Emma. Remember, Smith children are expected to excel." "Melissa helped me understand photosynthesis," Emma continued. "She made it really fun with the plant experiment." Victoria's smile tightened. "How nice. Now finish your breakfast or you'll be late for school." Later that day, Sophia brought home a flyer for her school's mother-daughter tea party. "It's this Friday," Sophia explained. "We get to dress up and have fancy sandwiches." "That sounds lovely," Victoria said. "I'll check my schedule." "Actually, Mom," Sophia said hesitantly, "I was hoping Melissa could come with me." Victoria froze. "What? You were too busy for the last one," Sophia explained, "and Melissa knows how to braid my hair the way I like it for special events." "I'm sure your mother would love to attend," Melissa said quickly. "I can show her how to do the braid you like." "No," Victoria said, her voice cold. "If Sophia wants you there, you should go. I have a hotel meeting that day anyway." The hurt in Victoria's eyes was unmistakable as she left the room. The next morning, Victoria entered the kitchen while Melissa was helping the girls pack their lunchboxes. "Melissa, I need you to organize the girls' baby albums," Victoria said. "Their birthday is next month, and I want to display photos from each year." "Of course, Mrs. Smith." "The albums are in the storage room. Bring them to the sunroom to work. It should take you all day." Melissa spent the morning sorting through dozens of photo albums. The triplets as newborns at 6 months, their first birthday. As she organized the photos by date, she noticed strange gaps. There were no hospital photos, no pictures of Victoria pregnant. The earliest photos showed the triplets at about 2 weeks old, already home in the mansion. And Carmen was in these earliest pictures, holding the babies, feeding them. Victoria had said Carmen started working when the triplets were a few weeks old, but these photos told a different story. When the girls returned from school, Sophia came to help Melissa with the albums. "Look how tiny we were," Sophia said, pointing at a photo of the 3 babies in matching pink outfits. "You were beautiful babies," Melissa replied. "I noticed Carmen is in a lot of these early photos." Sophia nodded. "She was always with us. Mom says she was just the help, but Carmen said she was there the day we were born." "Really?" Melissa tried to sound casual. "That's interesting. Your mom didn't mention that." "Mom doesn't like talking about Carmen," Sophia said. "She gets mad when we ask about her." One time I heard Mom and Dad fighting about the box in the attic. "What box?" Melissa asked. "The fighting box," Sophia whispered. "It's locked up in the attic storage room." Dad wanted to throw it away. but Mom said no. They didn't know I was listening. Later that afternoon, the triplets wanted to play hide-and-seek. Olivia tugged Melissa's hand. "Come hide with me," she whispered. "I know the best hiding spot." Olivia led Melissa up the back stairs to the attic. The large space was divided into storage sections with boxes and old furniture. In the far corner, Olivia pointed to a wooden chest. "Nobody ever looks behind there," she said. As Emma counted loudly downstairs, Melissa and Olivia crouched behind the chest. It was old with metal clasps and a padlock. "Is this the box your parents fought about?" Melissa asked quietly. Olivia nodded. "Mom keeps the key in her desk. In the secret drawer." "How do you know that?" Olivia shrugged. "I watch everything. People don't notice me much." After the game ended, Melissa couldn't stop thinking about the locked chest. What could be inside that would cause fights between Victoria and Thomas? That night, Melissa received a call from Mrs. Johnson, her grandfather's caretaker. "Frank fell trying to go to the bathroom alone," Mrs. Johnson reported. "The doctor wants to do some tests at the hospital tomorrow." "I'll be there," Melissa promised. "Is he okay for tonight?" "Yes, but he's asking for you. He got confused and thought you were coming home for dinner." The next morning, Melissa approached Victoria in her office. "Mrs. Smith, I need to request emergency leave today. My grandfather has been hospitalized." Victoria looked up from her computer. "Today is impossible. The girls have their dance recital practice, and I have meetings all afternoon." "It would only be for a few hours," Melissa pleaded. "My grandfather is all the family I have." "When you accepted this position," Victoria said firmly, "I made it clear that it requires complete dedication. The girls need consistency." "I understand, but this is an emergency." "And the girls are my priority," Victoria countered. "I'm sorry about your grandfather, but I need you here today." Melissa left the office, torn between her duty to her only family and her growing attachment to the triplets. After much thought, she made a difficult decision. She would go to the hospital in the morning and return by afternoon. Victoria would be angry, but surely she would understand a family emergency. But before leaving, Melissa made another decision. She had to know what was in that chest. While Victoria attended her morning tennis lesson and the girls were with their tutor, Melissa went to Victoria's office. She found the hidden drawer Olivia had mentioned and, inside, a small key. Her heart pounding, she took the key to the attic. The chest opened with a click. Inside were medical documents, legal papers, and photographs. The first document she pulled out was from Pacific Fertility Center. As she read, Melissa gasped. It was an egg donation agreement signed by Carmen Santos. The recipient was listed as Victoria Smith. Another document was a birth certificate for triplets born to a surrogate mother, with Victoria and Thomas Smith listed as the legal parents. The biological mother was Carmen Santos. Melissa's hands shook as understanding dawned. Carmen wasn't just the nanny, she was the triplets' biological mother. She had donated her eggs, then been hired to care for the children without knowing they were biologically hers. More papers showed a strict legal agreement Carmen had signed, giving up all parental rights. But attached was an email from Carmen to Victoria dated 3 years after the triplets' birth. In it, Carmen admitted she suspected the truth due to the girls' resemblance to her family and genetic traits they shared. She asked for honesty and the chance to remain in their lives. Victoria's reply was cold. "Your services are no longer required. The legal agreement you signed is clear. Stay away from our family." Melissa was so absorbed in these documents that she didn't notice the small security camera in the corner of the attic, its red light blinking as it recorded her discovery. In the security room downstairs, Derek Wilson watched the monitor showing Melissa in the attic. He picked up his phone and called Victoria. Meanwhile, Melissa carefully returned the papers to the chest, locked it, and replaced the key in Victoria's desk. She had just enough time to drive to the hospital, see her grandfather, and return for the girls' afternoon activities. At the hospital, she found her grandfather confused and agitated. "The doctor says he needs to stay for observation," Mrs. Johnson explained. "His condition is deteriorating faster than expected. They want to adjust his medication and run more tests." "I need to be here with him," Melissa said, holding her grandfather's hand as he drifted in and out of clarity. "Melissa?" Frank asked, momentarily recognizing her. "Did you bring cookies?" "You always bring cookies on Wednesdays." "I'll bring some tomorrow, Grandpa," she promised, fighting back tears. The doctor confirmed that Frank needed specialized care that would cost considerably more than his current arrangement. Melissa would need to find a better facility for him. When she glanced at her watch, she realized she had been at the hospital for 3 hours. Victoria would be furious. She called the Smith house, but no one answered. Torn between staying with her grandfather and returning to the triplets who had grown to depend on her, Melissa made the painful decision to return to the mansion. She would speak to Victoria about arranging better care for her grandfather using her salary. But when she arrived at the Smith mansion, something was wrong. The security guard at the gate called for instructions before letting her in. As she approached the front door, her phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "Don't bother coming back tomorrow. Your belongings will be packed and waiting at the gate." Melissa stared at Victoria's text message in disbelief. Fired. Just like that. When she tried to enter the house, a security guard stopped her. "I'm sorry, Miss Taylor. Mrs. Smith says I should escort you to collect your belongings," he said, looking uncomfortable. "But the girls, I need to at least say goodbye to them," Melissa pleaded. "Mrs. Smith was very clear." "No contact with the children," the guard replied. Melissa was given 20 minutes to pack her things, supervised by Mrs. Patterson, whose face showed no sympathy. As she packed her clothes with shaking hands, Melissa could hear the triplets somewhere in the house, their voices calling her name. "Melissa, where are you going?" Emma's voice carried down the hallway. The sound of small feet running was followed by Victoria's sharp command. "Girls, go to your room right now!" "But we want to see Melissa!" Sophia cried. "Now!" Victoria ordered. Melissa wiped tears from her eyes as she zipped her suitcase. "Can I please just say goodbye to them?" "Miss Victoria's instructions were very clear," Mrs. Patterson said coldly. "You've caused quite enough trouble already." Within 30 minutes, Melissa found herself outside the gates of the Smith mansion, her few possessions loaded into her car. She sat behind the wheel for several minutes, too shocked to drive. What would happen to the triplets now? And what about her grandfather who needed her financial support? Over the next week, Melissa divided her time between caring for her hospitalized grandfather and trying to contact the Smith house. Her calls went straight to voicemail. Her texts remained unanswered. She even wrote a letter to the girls, but it was returned unopened. At the hospital, Frank's condition stabilized, but the doctor's news wasn't good. "Your grandfather needs full-time specialized care," Dr. Roberts explained. "His Alzheimer's is progressing faster than we expected. The home health aide visits won't be enough anymore." "What are our options?" Melissa asked, her voice tired. "Sunshine Valley Care Home has an excellent memory care unit," the doctor suggested. "But it's expensive, around $6,000 per month." Melissa's heart sank. Without her nanny salary, such care was impossible. She would need to find another high-paying job immediately. Meanwhile, inside the Smith mansion, chaos had returned. The triplets refused to cooperate with Janet, the temporary nanny Victoria had hired. "I won't eat this," Emma shouted at breakfast, pushing away her plate. "Melissa makes better food," Sophia added, crossing her arms. Olivia said nothing, but refused to touch her food. "Girls, Miss Janet worked very hard on your breakfast," Victoria said firmly. "Melissa is gone. She broke our trust and won't be coming back." "What did she do wrong?" Emma demanded. Victoria hesitated. She went through private family matters that weren't her business." "You mean the box about Carmen?" Sophia asked innocently. Victoria's face paled. "How do you know about that?" "Olivia showed her the box," Sophia said. "We wanted her to know." That afternoon, the triplets' rebellion escalated. Janet found her shoes filled with toothpaste. The girls refused to participate in their piano lesson, banging random keys instead of playing their pieces. When Victoria tried to talk to them in their bedroom, she discovered they had cut up several of her designer scarves to make doll clothes. "This behavior is completely unacceptable," Victoria shouted. "What has gotten into you? We want Melissa back," Emma yelled. "She was nice to us. She didn't treat us like babies." "Melissa is not coming back," Victoria said firmly, "and this behavior only proves you need strict discipline. You sent Carmen away, and now Melissa too," Emma screamed, her little face red with anger. "Why do you hate anyone who loves us?" Victoria stepped back as if slapped. The room fell silent except for Emma's heavy breathing and Sophia's quiet sobs. That evening, Thomas found Victoria sitting alone in their bedroom, a glass of wine in her hand. "The girls destroyed Janet's phone today," Thomas said, sitting beside his wife. "She quit. That's 13 nannies now." Victoria stared straight ahead. "I'll call the agency tomorrow." "Victoria," Thomas said gently, "we need to talk about what's happening. This pattern can't continue." "What pattern?" Victoria asked defensively. "Every time we find a nanny the girls bond with, you find a reason to fire her," Thomas said. "First Carmen, then Julie after 6 months, and now Melissa." "Julie was teaching them Spanish behind my back," Victoria said, "and Melissa was snooping through private documents. She violated our privacy." "Documents about Carmen," Thomas said, "about the truth." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "What if the girls find out? What if they learn I'm not really their mother?" "You are their mother," Thomas insisted. "Being a mother isn't just about biology." "That's easy for you to say," Victoria whispered. "You're their biological father. I'm just the woman who couldn't have children, who had to use another woman's eggs. A younger, prettier woman who the girls bonded with instantly." Thomas took Victoria's hand. "I think we need help. Professional help. As a family." "What do you mean?" Victoria asked. "I've been seeing a family therapist privately," Thomas admitted. "Dr. Martinez has been helping me understand how to support you and the girls better. I think we all need to go together. Therapy won't change the fact that Carmen is their biological mother," Victoria said bitterly. "No, but it might help us find a way forward that doesn't involve driving away everyone the girls love," Thomas replied. At the hospital, Melissa sat beside her sleeping grandfather, scrolling through job listings on her phone. Nothing came close to the salary she'd had with the Smiths. She might need to take 2 jobs to afford his care. "Miss Taylor?" Melissa looked up to see Derek Wilson standing in the doorway of her grandfather's hospital room. Her first reaction was anger. "What are you doing here? Come to make sure I'm really gone?" Derek raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I came to apologize." "Apologize? You got me fired," Melissa said. "I did my job," Derek admitted, "but I'm not sure it was the right thing to do anymore." He walked into the room and sat in the chair opposite Melissa. "How did you find me?" she asked. "I'm good at finding people," Derek said. "It's part of my job to protect the Smith family. I investigated you thoroughly when Victoria hired you." "So you know about my foster care background?" Melissa asked. Derek nodded. "I know you aged out of the system at 18. I know you worked 3 jobs to put yourself through culinary school. And I know you're the only family your grandfather has. Why are you really here?" Melissa asked tiredly. Derek sighed. "The mansion is in chaos. The girls are destroying things, refusing to eat or attend school. They've driven away another nanny already." "That's not my problem anymore," Melissa said, though her heart ached thinking of the triplets. "Emma had a meltdown yesterday," Derek continued. "She screamed at Victoria about sending away anyone who loves them." Thomas finally confronted Victoria about her pattern of firing nannies who bond with the girls. "Again, why are you telling me this?" Melissa asked. Derek reached into his jacket and pulled out a piece of paper. "Because I found Carmen Santos." Melissa's eyes widened. "You what?" "She's in Phoenix, Arizona," working as a pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital of Phoenix," Derek said, placing the paper with an address on the table between them. "I've been watching you with those girls for 3 months. You genuinely care about them." "Of course I do," Melissa said. "Then you should know the whole truth," Derek said. "Yes, Carmen was their egg donor. But there's more to the story. After she figured out she was their biological mother, she didn't just ask questions. She tried to claim maternal rights. She threatened a lawsuit. So, Victoria fired her and erased her from their lives," Melissa concluded. Derek nodded. "Victoria was terrified of losing her daughters. Maybe she still is. Why are you really giving me this information?" Melissa asked suspiciously. "Because Thomas has finally stood up to Victoria," Derek explained. "He's insisting they get family therapy. And honestly, those little girls deserve better than what they've been getting." After Derek left, Melissa stared at the address in her hand for a long time. She had a crucial choice to make. She could walk away from the emotional mess of the Smith family and focus solely on her grandfather. Or she could risk everything to bring the truth to light for 3 little girls who had already lost too many people they loved. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When she opened it, she found a photo of the triplets holding a sign. "We miss you, Melissa." The message beneath simply read, "From Thomas's phone. They won't stop asking for you." The photo of the triplets holding their handmade sign broke Melissa's heart. She looked at the address Derek had given her, then at her grandfather sleeping in the hospital bed. What should she do? 2 days later, Frank's condition stabilized enough for him to be moved to a temporary care facility. Melissa had used most of her savings to pay for 1 month's care. "Your grandfather is doing better today," the nurse told Melissa as she visited him. "The new medication seems to be helping." "That's wonderful," Melissa said, holding Frank's hand. "Grandpa, I need to go away for a few days. The nurses will take good care of you." Frank looked at her with momentary clarity. "You're going on a trip, Melissa?" "You never take trips." "I need to help someone," she explained. "I'll be back soon." After kissing her grandfather goodbye, Melissa went to her small apartment and packed a bag. She had made her decision. She would drive to Phoenix and find Carmen Santos. She needed answers, and so did the triplets. The drive from Los Angeles to Phoenix took 6 hours. Melissa replayed her time with the Smith family in her mind, remembering the triplets' faces and the secrets she had discovered. As she crossed the Arizona state line, her phone rang. The screen showed Thomas Smith. Her heart jumped. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Melissa, it's Thomas Smith." His voice sounded tired. "I hope I'm not bothering you." "No, it's fine. How are the girls?" Thomas sighed. "Not good. They're refusing to cooperate with anyone. Emma won't eat her meals. Sophia had a crying fit at school yesterday. Olivia has stopped speaking entirely." "I'm so sorry to hear that," Melissa said, truly meaning it. "I want to apologize for how things ended," Thomas continued. "Victoria reacted out of fear when Derek showed her the security footage. She's terrified of losing the girls." "I understand why she was upset," Melissa said, "but I care about those children. I would never hurt them." "I know," Thomas said quietly. "That's why they miss you so much." He paused. "Victoria doesn't know I'm calling you, but I wanted you to know that, well, if circumstances change, there might be a place for you here again." After the call ended, Melissa felt even more determined to find Carmen. The triplets deserved to know the truth about their past. She arrived in Phoenix in the late afternoon and checked into a small hotel near Children's Hospital of Phoenix. The next morning she went to the hospital, her stomach tight with nerves. The hospital lobby was busy with parents and children coming and going. Melissa approached the information desk. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Nurse Carmen Santos," she said to the receptionist. "Are you a patient family?" the woman asked. "No, I'm a family friend," Melissa improvised. "I'm in town briefly and hope to say hello." Nurse Santos is on the third-floor pediatric unit," the receptionist said. "But nurses are very busy. You might have to wait for her break." Melissa took the elevator to the third floor and found a waiting area where she could watch the nurse's station. After 2 hours of waiting, she finally saw her. Carmen Santos was in her mid-30s with curly dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore blue scrubs and moved quickly and efficiently between rooms. The resemblance between them was indeed striking. The same warm brown skin, similar facial features, the same curly hair. When Carmen finally took a break and walked toward the coffee machine, Melissa approached her. "Excuse me, are you Carmen Santos?" Melissa asked. Carmen looked up, confused. Then her eyes widened. "Yes. Do I know you?" "My name is Melissa Taylor. I was recently the nanny for Emma, Sophia, and Olivia Smith." Carmen's face changed instantly. She grabbed Melissa's arm and pulled her into an empty consultation room, closing the door. "Who sent you?" Carmen demanded. "Victoria? Is this some kind of trick?" "Nobody sent me," Melissa assured her. "Well, actually, Derek Wilson helped me find you, but Victoria doesn't know I'm here." "Derek?" Carmen looked suspicious. "Why would he help you?" "Because the triplets need help," Melissa explained. "And I think you might be the only one who understands what's really going on." Carmen crossed her arms. "I signed legal papers. I'm not allowed to contact them." "I know everything," Melissa said gently. "I found the documents in the attic chest. I know you're their biological mother." Carmen's eyes filled with tears. She turned away, taking deep breaths. When she faced Melissa again, her expression was guarded. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Just to talk," Melissa said. "The girls keep a box of your things under a floorboard in their bedroom. They still wear the friendship bracelets you made them. They miss you, even after 5 years." Carmen's professional composure cracked. "They remember me?" "They thought I was related to you because we look alike," Melissa explained. "That's why they behaved well with me from the start." Carmen checked her watch. "My shift ends in 1 hour. Meet me at the coffee shop across the street." Later, in the coffee shop, Carmen told Melissa her full story. "I was 23, in nursing school, and completely broke," Carmen explained. "The egg donation program paid well, and I thought I was just helping someone have a baby." She stirred her coffee. 6 months later, Victoria Smith contacted me. She said she was impressed with my health profile and education, and offered me a job as a nanny for her newborn triplets. "She hired you without telling you they were created from your eggs?" Melissa asked. Carmen nodded. "I had no idea at first. But as they grew, I noticed things. They had my mother's dimples. Emma had my dad's eyebrow shape. Sophia was allergic to strawberries just like me." "When did you figure it out?" Melissa asked. "When they were 3. I found medical papers in Victoria's office by accident. I confronted her and she admitted everything." Carmen wiped away a tear. "I love those girls so much. They were my first patients, my first loves. When I realized they were actually mine biologically, I was shocked." "What happened then?" "I just wanted to stay in their lives," Carmen said. "But Victoria saw me as a threat. She fired me immediately. When I tried to argue, she threatened legal action. The contract I signed as an egg donor gave up all parental rights." Carmen reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. "I've kept birthday cards for them every year. Cards I could never send." Meanwhile, at the Smith mansion, the situation had reached a breaking point. The triplets had flooded the master bathroom, soaking Victoria's closet and ruining dozens of designer clothes. "Do you see what you've done?" Victoria shouted, holding up a dripping silk dress. "This is completely unacceptable behavior." "We want Melissa back," Emma shouted. "We hate it here without her," Sophia added, tears streaming down her face. Thomas entered the chaos, his face serious. "What happened now?" "They flooded the bathroom on purpose," Victoria said. "Look at my clothes." Suddenly, Mrs. Patterson appeared in the doorway looking worried. "Mr. Smith, Miss Olivia is missing." "What do you mean missing?" Victoria asked, her anger turning to fear. "She's not in the house. We've checked everywhere." A frantic search began. Staff looked through every room while Thomas checked the grounds. After 2 hours, Thomas found Olivia hiding in the garden shed. She was huddled in a corner, clutching a photo of Melissa. "Olivia, sweetie," Thomas said gently, "everyone's worried about you." Olivia didn't respond or look up. "Do you miss Melissa?" he asked. Olivia nodded slightly, still not speaking. "Let's go inside, okay? Mom is very worried." When Thomas carried Olivia back to the house, Victoria rushed to them. "Olivia! Thank God!" She reached for her daughter, but Olivia turned away, burying her face in Thomas's shoulder. That evening, after the girls were finally asleep, Victoria sat in her office, staring at her phone. With a deep breath, she dialed Melissa's number. "Hello?" Melissa answered, surprised to see Victoria's name on her screen. "It's Victoria Smith," she said stiffly. "We have a situation here. The girls they're not coping well with your departure." "I'm sorry to hear that," Melissa said. "Olivia ran away and hid in the shed today," Victoria continued. She stopped speaking completely. Melissa could hear the worry in Victoria's voice, despite her attempt to sound controlled. "Mrs. Smith, I should tell you that I'm currently in Phoenix," Melissa said, "with Carmen Santos." There was a long silence on the line. "I see," Victoria finally said. Her voice shook slightly. "And what do you intend to do with this information?" "I just want what's best for the girls," Melissa said honestly. "They've been through so much confusion and loss." Another long silence followed. When Victoria spoke again, her voice was quiet and defeated. "Bring her too," she said finally. "It's time for the truth." When Melissa hung up, Carmen looked at her questioningly. "Victoria wants us both to come to the mansion," Melissa explained. "She's ready to talk about the truth." As they packed their bags to drive back to Los Angeles the next morning, Melissa's phone buzzed with a text from Emma sent from Victoria's phone. "Hurry home. We made Mom cry again, but this time she told us the truth about why you left, and about Carmen too." The 6-hour drive back to Los Angeles felt much shorter as Melissa and Carmen talked non-stop. Carmen shared stories about the triplets as babies, while Melissa described their recent achievements and personalities. "Emma is still the leader," Melissa said. "Sophia is still dramatic, and Olivia still observes everything quietly." Carmen smiled sadly. "They haven't changed much then. Just grown bigger." As they approached the Smith mansion on Rodeo Drive, Carmen's smile faded. She stared at the huge house with visible anxiety. "I never thought I'd come back here," she whispered. "What exactly did Victoria tell them about me?" "I don't know," Melissa admitted. "Emma's text just said Victoria told them some truth about why I left and about you." The security guard at the gate recognized Melissa and looked surprised to see her. After checking his list, he opened the gate and directed them to park near the front entrance. Thomas Smith opened the door before they could knock. His face showed relief when he saw them. "Thank you for coming," he said, shaking Melissa's hand. "And Miss Santos, it's been a long time." 5 years, Carmen replied stiffly. Thomas led them into the living room where Victoria stood by the fireplace, her posture rigid and her face pale. She nodded slightly but didn't speak. "Where are the girls?" Melissa asked. "Upstairs in their room," Victoria answered, her voice tight. "We told them you were coming." "Both of you." "What exactly did you tell them about me?" Carmen asked directly. Victoria lifted her chin. "I told them you helped make them, that you were a special helper when they were born." Before Carmen could respond, the sound of small feet running down the stairs filled the room. Emma appeared first, followed by Sophia and Olivia. They stopped in the doorway, staring at Carmen with wide eyes. "Carmen?" Emma said hesitantly. Carmen's eyes filled with tears. "Hello, Emma. Hello, Sophia. Hello, Olivia." You've grown so much." The triplets looked from Carmen to Melissa, clearly confused by their similar appearance. "Are you really our egg mom?" Emma asked bluntly. Victoria stepped forward quickly. "Girls, remember what we discussed. Ms. Santos donated her eggs to help Mommy and Daddy have babies. That's all. Maybe we should all sit down," Thomas suggested, gesturing toward the couches. As everyone took seats, Carmen noticed the wall of family photographs. She stood to look more closely at the pictures of the girls growing up, years of birthdays, holidays, and school events she had missed. Victoria watched Carmen nervously. "The girls have questions, of course. We thought it would be best to answer them honestly, to a point appropriate for their age." Carmen returned to her seat. "I agree. Honesty is important." Victoria sat between Sophia and Olivia on the couch while Emma perched on the armrest near Thomas. "I don't understand," Sophia said. "If Carmen gave you her eggs, does that make her our mother too?" Victoria tensed visibly. "I'm your mother, Sophia. I raised you." "But Carmen's eggs made us," Emma persisted. "That's what Daddy explained." Carmen leaned forward slightly. "May I try to explain?" Victoria nodded reluctantly. "When I was younger," Carmen began gently, "I was a nursing student. I needed money for school, so I donated my eggs, tiny cells from my body that help make babies. Your mom really wanted children but couldn't make eggs of her own. So the doctors took my eggs and your dad's cells and made you 3 beautiful girls. Then they grew inside a special helper lady until you were born." "Like how we plant seeds in the garden?" Sophia asked. "Something like that," Carmen smiled. "But your mom and dad took you home and loved you and raised you. That makes them your real parents." "But you have our DNA," Emma said, using a word she'd clearly just learned. "Daddy said DNA is what makes us look like you." Victoria stood suddenly. "I need a moment." She walked quickly out of the room, her eyes shining with tears. "Mom is sad," Olivia said quietly, speaking for the first time since Melissa and Carmen had arrived. "This is difficult for her," Thomas explained. "She loves you girls very much." "Why did you leave us, Carmen?" Sophia asked. "Didn't you love us?" Carmen took a deep breath. "I loved you very much. I still do. But sometimes adults make complicated decisions." "Did Mom make you go away?" Emma asked directly. Thomas interrupted. "Girls, this is a lot to process. Why don't you show Carmen and Melissa your school projects while I check on Mom?" The girls eagerly led Carmen and Melissa to their playroom, bombarding Carmen with questions about her life, her job as a nurse, and whether she had other children. "No, I don't have any other children," Carmen said, examining a science project about butterflies. "You 3 are the only ones." "Do you have brothers or sisters?" Sophia asked. "I have 2 brothers," Carmen answered. "They live in New Mexico with my parents, your biological grandparents." "We have more grandparents?" Emma's eyes widened. Meanwhile, Thomas found Victoria in their bedroom wiping her eyes. "I can't do this, Thomas," she said. "The way they look at her, they're already connecting with her." "They're curious," Thomas said gently. "It's natural." "They're going to choose her over me," Victoria insisted. "She's younger, prettier, and they share DNA." "Victoria, you're their mother. You've raised them for 8 years. Why did you invite them here?" Victoria demanded. This was supposed to be a brief meeting, not a family reunion. Thomas sat beside her. "The girls need this. They've been lied to enough." Back in the playroom, the triplets showed Carmen their photo albums and artwork. When dinner time approached, Thomas returned. "It's getting late," he said. "I think Carmen and Melissa should stay overnight so we can continue talking tomorrow." "Stay here?" Carmen asked, surprised. "We have plenty of guest rooms," Thomas said. "And the girls would like more time with both of you." When they returned downstairs, Victoria had composed herself again, but when Thomas suggested the overnight stay, her control slipped. "Absolutely not!" she exclaimed. "This was meant to be a brief explanation, not a sleepover." "Victoria, be reasonable," Thomas said firmly. "It's already 7 o'clock. The girls are excited to spend time with them." "Of course they are," Victoria said bitterly. "They've made it very clear who they prefer." "That's not fair," Melissa interjected. "The girls love you. They're just trying to understand their history." "Their history?" Victoria's voice rose. "I am their history. I've been there for every skinned knee, every nightmare, every school project." "And I would have been too if you hadn't sent me away," Carmen snapped, her own control breaking. "I never wanted to replace you. I just wanted to know them." The room fell silent. The triplets stood in the doorway, watching with wide eyes. Derek Wilson, who had been quietly observing from the dining room, stepped forward. "Mrs. Smith," he said carefully, "if I may. I've observed this family for 5 years. The pattern of driving away caregivers who bond with the girls has been consistent and, frankly, harmful to them." "How dare you?" Victoria turned on him. "It's true," Thomas said quietly. "First Carmen, then Julie after 6 months, and then Melissa. Anyone they love disappears." "I've been seeing a family therapist," Thomas continued. "Dr. Martinez has helped me understand how these disruptions affect children. The girls need stability and truth." Victoria looked around the room, feeling cornered. Her gaze landed on her daughters, huddled together in the doorway, watching anxiously. "Fine," she said finally. "They can stay tonight. We'll continue tomorrow." "Thank you," Thomas said, relief in his voice. "Mrs. Patterson, please prepare 2 guest rooms." That night, after an awkward dinner where Victoria barely spoke, everyone retreated to their rooms. Melissa settled into a guest room at the far end of the hallway, her mind racing with the day's events. Just as she was changing into pajamas, a soft knock came at her door. When she opened it, all 3 triplets stood in the hallway in their matching nightgowns. "Can we sleep in here with you?" Emma whispered. "We're scared if we close our eyes, both you and Carmen will disappear again." Melissa looked at the 3 little girls standing in her doorway in their matching pajamas. Their eyes were wide with worry. Without hesitation, she opened the door wider. "Of course you can," she said softly. The triplets rushed in and climbed onto the large guest bed. Melissa tucked them under the covers, their small bodies crowded together in the center of the mattress. "Will you stay forever now?" Sophia asked. "I can't promise forever," Melissa answered honestly, "but I'm here tonight." "And Carmen too?" Emma asked. "Carmen is in her room down the hall," Melissa assured them. Within minutes, the girls fell asleep, exhausted from the emotional day. Melissa watched their peaceful faces, wondering what tomorrow would bring for this complicated family. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains when Melissa woke to find Emma already awake, watching her face. "You're still here," Emma whispered. "I told you I would be," Melissa smiled. "Let's check if Carmen is still here too," Emma suggested, poking her sisters awake. The triplets scrambled out of bed and rushed to the door. Melissa followed them into the hallway where they knocked on Carmen's door. When Carmen opened it, already dressed, the girls sighed with relief. "Good morning," Carmen said, surprised to see all 4 of them. "Did you sleep well?" "We stayed with Melissa," Sophia explained. "We were scared you'd both leave." Downstairs, they found Victoria in the kitchen, arranging platters of breakfast food. She wore a casual sweater instead of her usual formal attire, and her hair was simply styled. "Good morning," Victoria said stiffly. "I hope everyone slept well. There's fruit, bagels, and Thomas is making pancakes." She handed Carmen a cup of coffee, making a visible effort to be polite. 2 sugars, no cream. "I remembered." Carmen looked surprised. "Thank you." Thomas flipped pancakes at the stove, seeming more relaxed than anyone had seen him. "I was thinking we should all visit Dr. Martinez today." "Who's Dr. Martinez?" Emma asked, reaching for a strawberry. "My family therapist," Thomas explained. "She helps people talk about their feelings and solve problems together. I called her last night and she agreed to see us all today. She cleared her schedule for an emergency family session. Victoria looked uncomfortable but nodded. If you think it will help. After breakfast, they drove in 2 cars to a professional building in West Los Angeles. Dr. Martinez's office had comfortable furniture and colorful artwork. She was a warm woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and a kind smile. "Welcome, everyone," she said. "Thomas has told me about your situation. Today is about creating a safe space for everyone to express their feelings." The triplets sat together on a small couch, while the adults formed a semicircle in larger chairs. Dr. Martinez started with a simple exercise. "First, I want each person to share one word that describes how they feel right now," she instructed. "Confused," said Emma. "Excited," said Sophia. "Scared," whispered Olivia. "Hopeful," Melissa offered. "Nervous," Carmen admitted. "Determined," Thomas said firmly. Victoria hesitated. "Threatened," she finally said. Dr. Martinez nodded. "Thank you all for your honesty. Now I'd like to talk about what family means to each of you." For the next hour, Dr. Martinez skillfully guided them through difficult conversations. She used simple exercises to help the triplets express their complicated feelings. "Girls, can you tell your mom what you need from her?" Dr. Martinez asked. "I need you to not make people we love go away," Emma said directly to Victoria. "I need you to read with us more instead of working all the time," Sophia added. "I need hugs," Olivia said quietly. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. When Dr. Martinez prompted her to share her feelings, her careful composure finally cracked. "I'm afraid," Victoria admitted, her voice breaking. "I've always been afraid that I'm not a real mother because I didn't give birth to you. I didn't contribute genetically. I was terrified that if you knew the truth, you wouldn't love me anymore." The triplets looked shocked at their mother's tears. Then, with children's remarkable capacity for compassion, Sophia slid off her seat and went to hug Victoria. "You're the mom who reads us stories every night," Sophia said. "And checks for monsters under the bed," Emma added, joining her sister. Olivia simply walked over and held Victoria's hand. Victoria pulled all 3 girls close, crying openly now. "I love you so much. I was so afraid of losing you." Carmen watched the scene with tears in her own eyes. When Dr. Martinez asked about her feelings, she spoke carefully. "I never wanted to replace Victoria," Carmen explained. "When I realized the girls were biologically mine, I was shocked. I just wanted to remain in their lives somehow. I loved them too much to simply disappear." Dr. Martinez turned to Melissa. "You grew up in foster care, correct? How does your experience inform your view of this situation?" Melissa nodded. "I lost my parents when I was 8 years old. I moved between 7 foster homes before I turned 18. What I learned is that family isn't just about biology. Family is about who shows up for you every day, who makes you feel safe and loved." Dr. Martinez then addressed all the adults. "The triplets need stability and honesty. They need to know the adults in their lives won't disappear. Victoria and Thomas are their legal and emotional parents. But Carmen also has a biological connection that can be honored." She suggested a gradual plan for Carmen to build a relationship with the girls as a special aunt figure, while reinforcing Victoria's primary role as their mother. "What about practical matters?" Thomas asked. "Carmen lives in Phoenix. Melissa needs to care for her grandfather. How do we make this work?" Melissa explained her situation with her grandfather's illness and her dream of opening a bakery someday. "I love the girls, but I need to care for my grandfather. His condition is getting worse and he needs specialized care." Thomas leaned forward. "I've been thinking about this. Melissa, your positive influence on our family has been invaluable. I'd like to invest in your bakery business. You could open it here in Los Angeles, create your dream while still being part of the girls' lives." Melissa stared at him in shock. "You would do that?" "It makes perfect business sense," Thomas said, and the girls could visit your bakery, maintain that connection." Victoria, making a genuine effort to change, added hesitantly, "Perhaps we could have a monthly family dinner. With everyone. The girls need stability, like Dr. Martinez said." Carmen considered this. "I could look into transfer options at children's hospitals in Los Angeles. My specialty is in high demand." Dr. Martinez smiled at the progress. "This won't be easy. There will be challenges and difficult emotions, but you're all putting the children first, which is what matters most." Before ending the session, Dr. Martinez had them do one final exercise. Everyone held a piece of string, creating a web that connected them all. "This represents your new family structure," she explained. "Different, unconventional, but connected." As they left the therapist's office, the triplets seemed lighter, skipping ahead to the cars. Thomas discussed investment details with Melissa. Victoria hung back, watching Carmen look at pictures of the girls on her phone. With visible effort, Victoria approached Carmen. "I have all their baby videos and photos from the years you missed," she said, her voice tentative but sincere. "Would you like to come see them?" Carmen looked up, surprise and gratitude on her face. "Yes, I would like that very much." It was a small gesture, but it signaled the possibility of real healing for this unconventional family. Victoria's offer to share the triplets' baby photos marked the first genuine step toward healing for the complex Smith family. That small moment of generosity opened the door to possibilities none of them had imagined possible. 6 months later, on a sunny Saturday morning, a crowd gathered outside a charming storefront in West Los Angeles. A blue ribbon stretched across the entrance, and a sign above the door read, "Triple Delight Bakery." "I declare Triple Delight Bakery officially open," Melissa announced, cutting the ribbon with large scissors. The crowd cheered as Emma, Sophia, and Olivia bounced excitedly beside her. Thomas stood nearby, smiling proudly at the business he had invested in. Victoria and Carmen stood side by side, clapping politely. Inside, the bakery was warm and inviting. Glass cases displayed colorful cookies, cakes, and pastries. In one corner, a special display featured the triplets' artwork and family photographs. "This is the best day ever," Sophia declared, admiring the bakery's decorations. "Is Grandpa Frank coming today?" Emma asked Melissa. "He'll be here this afternoon," Melissa replied. "His new care home is just 20 minutes away, and they're bringing him for a special visit." The past 6 months had transformed all their lives. With Thomas's investment, Melissa had created her dream bakery while remaining connected to the triplets. Her grandfather now lived in a high-quality memory care facility nearby where Melissa could visit him regularly. Carmen had relocated to Los Angeles, accepting a position at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. She now saw the girls twice weekly as their special Aunt Carmen. The following day was Sunday, which meant another family tradition was about to unfold. Every Sunday morning, the entire extended family gathered at Triple Delight for brunch. "Are the cinnamon rolls ready?" Derek asked, entering the bakery early. He had become an unexpected ally, helping coordinate their complex family schedule. "Just came out of the oven," Melissa confirmed, placing a tray of warm rolls on the counter. Soon the bells above the door jingled as Thomas arrived with the triplets. They wore matching soccer uniforms, grass stains on their knees. "We won our game," Emma announced proudly. "Dad scored a goal by accident." Sophia giggled. Thomas laughed. "I was just trying to demonstrate a technique and somehow kicked the ball into the net." "Where's Mom?" Olivia asked quietly. "She's picking up Aunt Carmen," Thomas explained. "They'll be here soon." The fact that Thomas now coached the girls' soccer team instead of working weekends represented another significant change. He had reduced his work hours significantly, delegating more responsibility to his hotel management team. The door opened again as Victoria and Carmen arrived together. 6 months ago, they could barely stand in the same room. Now, while not exactly friends, they had developed a respectful relationship centered around their shared love for the triplets. "Sorry we're late," Victoria said. "Traffic on Wilshire was terrible." I brought the photos from the school portrait session, Carmen added, holding up an envelope. The group settled at their usual large corner table. Melissa brought out plates of food while the triplets told everyone about their soccer game. Victoria opened the envelope of school photos and handed copies to Carmen. I ordered extras for you, she said, and I included the form so you can order more sizes if you want. Thank you, Carmen said, looking at the portraits with a smile. Sophia has your smile, Victoria. Victoria looked surprised at the compliment. Do you think so? Everyone always says they look like Thomas. This small exchange revealed the progress Victoria had made. Her weekly therapy sessions had helped her address her deep insecurities about motherhood. She was learning that sharing the girls with Carmen didn't diminish her role as their mother. Melissa, this cake is even better than last week's, Thomas said, finishing a slice of chocolate cake. I added extra vanilla, Melissa explained. The girls helped me test different recipes. We were the taste testers, Sophia said proudly. Very important job, Carmen agreed. As they finished eating, Emma stood up importantly. We have an announcement, she declared. Our school talent show is this Friday night. We're performing a song, Sophia added. We wrote it ourselves, Olivia said softly. A song you wrote yourselves? Victoria looked impressed. What's it about? The triplets exchanged glances. It's a surprise, Emma replied. But we need all of you to come, Sophia insisted. Mom, Dad, Melissa, and Aunt Carmen. We'll be there, Thomas promised, looking around the table at the unusual family they had become. Friday evening arrived quickly. The elementary school auditorium filled with parents and families clutching programs and flowers. In the third row, an unusual group settled into their seats. Victoria in an elegant blue dress, Thomas in a business suit, Carmen in casual slacks and a sweater, and Melissa carrying a box from her bakery. I saved your seats, Derek said, already seated. Though not officially family, he had become part of their circle. Are you nervous? Melissa asked Victoria. A little, Victoria admitted. It's their first public performance. I hope they don't get stage fright. They've been practicing constantly, Carmen added, even during their hospital visit yesterday. The lights dimmed, and the principal welcomed everyone. After several acts, including a magic show and a violin solo, the announcer called, Next, Emma, Sophia, and Olivia Smith performing an original song titled Extra Love. The triplets walked onto the stage in matching blue dresses. They stood in front of 3 microphones, looking suddenly small under the bright lights. The music started, and they began to sing. Their song, simple but touching, was about having extra people to love. The lyrics described how some families have bonus grown-ups who make life better with extra love. Victoria reached for Thomas's hand as tears filled her eyes. Carmen discreetly wiped away her own tears. Melissa smiled proudly. When the triplets finished singing, the audience applauded loudly. The girls took a bow and then pointed directly to their family sitting together. That's our family, Sophia announced into the microphone, causing laughter and more applause. After the show, the triplets rushed to their parents, carrying the flowers Victoria had brought them. You were amazing, Thomas said, hugging all 3 girls at once. Was the song okay? Emma asked, looking particularly at Victoria and Carmen. It was beautiful, Victoria said sincerely. We're so proud of you. Can we go for ice cream to celebrate? Emma suggested. All of us together? They walked 2 blocks to an ice cream shop, the triplets skipping ahead with Derek while the other adults followed. Inside the cheerful shop, they ordered cones and sundaes and squeezed around a large table. As they ate their ice cream, Olivia, who usually said the least, did something unexpected. She slipped out of her chair and walked around the table. Then she took Victoria's hand in her right hand and Carmen's hand in her left, physically connecting her 2 mothers. Both women looked surprised, then deeply moved by the simple gesture. What a beautiful family, commented an older woman at a nearby table. Before Victoria could explain their complicated situation, she paused. She looked around at the unconventional group they'd become. Her husband, Thomas, the triplets' biological mother, Carmen, their former nanny, Melissa, their personal assistant, Derek, and the 3 little girls who had brought them all together. "Thank you," Victoria said simply. "It took us a while to find each other, but we finally got the story right." As they finished their ice cream, surrounded by chatter and laughter, Victoria realized something important. Family wasn't defined by blood or legal documents. Family was created through love, honesty, and the choice to put children's needs first. Their family story wasn't conventional, but it was theirs. And finally, it was true. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.